is a mindset. We stand strong together. We believe in hope, in humanity, and in our nation.
So when I said I wanted to be an architect, my mother was deeply shocked. It's not a job for a girl. I mean, who ever's heard of a woman architect?
Sometimes we're in this position where we want to give our kids what we didn't have. But sometimes we forget to give our kids what we did have, and stuff like compassion, stuff like generosity.
Not lose hope. I think we have more people actually that are good, more people that care than we do people who don't, and I think we just need to find each other and pull people along.
Where others see obstacles, we make solutions. We get it done. We are South African.
Even one child dying from malnutrition is honestly one child too many. Just seeing that child gain weight, seeing that child turn that corner, seeing a sick child give you that first high five, there's literally no better feeling. I think we have enough people, more people actually that are good, more people that care than we do people who don't, and I think we just need to find each other and pull people along, and I think we'll be just fine.
How did we sort of join with Profmed?
So Profmed, spoke to some of my colleagues, they're like, you must go with Profmed.
Profmed's the only way.
Say, I mean, just good
things.
Good things for them, yeah. Sometimes we're in this position where we want to give our kids what we didn't have. But sometimes we forget to give our kids what we did have, and stuff like compassion, stuff like generosity, stuff like respect. If anybody has asked me, where do you put your money in education, I would say ECD. In informal settlement, Masipumele, we put up a 5 million rand state-of-the-art facility.
What I love about your entire story is that you changed your own life and now you're changing other lives in the process.
We have to make South Africa better. We can't depend on someone else.
I decided I was going to be an architect. And boy, was there opposition. It's not a job for a girl. I mean, who ever's heard of a woman architect? I applied to my institute's medical aid and I was turned down.
For what reason?
Because I was a woman.
Because you were a woman.
I knew I wanted medical aid for the children. I knew it was important.
And you couldn't get onto the medical aid for them?
No, I wasn't a breadwinner. You explained that to me. I had the 5th child. My doctor was checking her over and he said, she'd have a medical aid. So I told him the story. He said, why don't you try Profmed, which I belong to? So I applied to them and they accepted me as a breadwinner and as a woman architect. I was very grateful they accepted me as a professional.
And then I realized that I needed help straight away. Otherwise I was going to do something, or I was afraid I was going to do something to hurt myself. I'm Megan Ross, and this is my Profmed story. Profmed's been integral to my healing journey. I am a mom and writer from the Eastern Cape. I have bipolar 2, which my psychiatrist and I like to joke is the not fun one of the 2 variants. Bipolar is essentially a mood disorder characterized by intense highs and lows. It's a lifelong condition that requires treatment, medication, lifestyle changes, and I'm just grateful to be getting the help that I have. So essentially all my life, I could be suicidal in the morning and happy-go-lucky by lunchtime. Living with these really rapid changing moods has been something that's made normal life really difficult. I remember everything changed when I turned 11. Puberty started for me, and with that came this horrifying fear of growing up. And when I was about 15, I started self-harming pretty badly. I used to cut. It's a horrible thing to do, but actually in the moment it brings you this relief because in 2 ways, on one hand it makes you feel alive, and on the other hand it helps you channel all your pain into a physical manifestation because you can't control what's going on emotionally. And it's not something I've really spoken about. Sorry, I didn't think this was going to be emotional. So I was in the middle of what's called a mixed episode, which is essentially when you cycle rapidly between like hypomania and depression. I'd like to describe it as anxiety having extreme energy, and I ended up in hospital and I was given the right medication for the first time. I was 32 years old. I was driving home and I was convinced that I was going to kill myself if I didn't take the turnoff to the hospital that was coming up on my left. And I missed the turnoff. When I got home, I thought I'd take a tranquilizer just to help, but nothing was working. I ended up taking another sleeping tablet to just maybe like touch sides. And then I realized that I needed help straight away. So I got hold of a friend and she dropped everything. And she picked me up and she rushed me to the hospital. And that's where my healing journey began. My whole world took on this very like surreal bent. And I still, even as a writer, struggle to articulate that time in my life. You know, when I've spoken to my therapist and my psychiatrist about it, they explain that that was the onset of the mood disorder. I've been so fortunate with Profmed. There was no issue to get my medication listed as chronic. And you have to understand that, you know, when you're mentally ill, everything needs to run smoothly when it comes to your treatment. Luckily, also with Profmed, all my visits to my psychiatrist are covered. And I think a huge part of this has also been my son. I knew that for him, I need to be well. So I wanted to show him that should this ever be something that he encounters, you know, that it's okay to ask for help. Sometimes people feel that asking for help makes them weak, but in actual fact, that is the moment where you are at your strongest.
Profmed is a medical aid created by professionals for professionals.
We've been trusted by doctors, pharmacists, and medical professionals for over 60 years as their first choice in medical aid.
And over the years, other professionals have joined their ranks, from CAs and lawyers to marketing professionals and graphic designers.
Because we know that health is wealth, we've grown and evolved with our members to support their aspirations and dreams through affordable, high-quality medical aid.
Choose the correct fit for your wallet, your family, and your medical needs with one of our 3 core benefit options. And then add additional day-to-day benefits or take advantage of our savvy hospital network by tailoring your plan.
As a restricted medical aid, Profmed has a lower risk profile than many other medical aids, allowing us to maintain our strong financial position and excellent reserves.
Our bespoke blueprint means members enjoy personalized service, backed by an agile and responsive executive team.
So why choose Profmed? We offer unlimited hospital cover and no deposits on admission.
Our day-to-day benefits comprise 40% of contributions fund day-to-day benefits versus only 25% in other medical aids.
When comparing medical aid benefits, Profmed has a proven track record of supporting our members when they need us most.
We have a range of benefit options that suit your pocket and meet your healthcare needs. Our Tums to Tots baby program supports expectant moms on the exciting journey.
You can also manage your healthcare co-payments with PPS Wallet, a unique healthcare savings account.
Whether you're just beginning your professional career
or are already well established,
find out how Profmed can support you today.
I'm Chris Barry, and this is my Profmed story. So annually there's a group of Durban kite surfers. So the whole group goes up to Pontedora every year in August. Early bird flight from Joburg to Maputo, and you've got the bridge now. It makes it so going to Pontedora is a doddle. It's like an hour and a half through the reserve, so it's very easy. So there were 3 of us there, and we wanted to do, the one guy said, let's do a downwind kite surfing from Ponta which is about 5 k's away. But now it's like properly dusk, and the wind is all over the place, and I went in there into the water, dropped aboard and got back on, and I was about to go again, and the next thing, not a big wave, I've been crunched many times, basically came through and hit my right leg and made me a ballerina. At my age, it's not such a good idea to make me a ballerina. That was it. The wind is on shore, so you
what's happening? My name is Brendan DQ. They call me the Good Things Guy, and I have the absolute honor of hosting the Profmed Showcase 2023 with you. We've got a couple of house rules today. We are live on YouTube, and we want you to get involved with the conversation. So please post your questions in that comment box, and we'll be answering them a little bit later. But first, Hendrik is going to take us through the Profmed member benefits for 2024. Craig is going to give us an overview of where the country is right now, and we're going to be announcing the Broker of the Year. I'm excited. Let's get right into it. Hendrik, take it away.
Hello everybody, appreciate your time this morning. I'm really looking forward to sharing our 2024 benefit enhancements with you. I'd like to lead with a quick story though. So many sunsets ago, my wife and I were still dating. We liked listening to this Irish rock pop band called The Cause. So we're in the car, we're driving somewhere, I can't recall exactly where, probably Cresta. We've got the CD in the car because that's how you listen to music 27, 28 odd years ago. And out of the blue, she asks me, so who is this Bradley character? So after the confusion dissipates, I realize she's referring to the lyrics. So the song lyrics go something like this: come on, go on, leave me breathless. What she was hearing, what her brain was telling her was, come on, go on, don't leave me, Bradley. There's actually a term for this phenomenon. It's called mondegreen. Allow me to explain. Mondegreen is defined as a misheard word or phrase that makes sense in your head, but is in fact incorrect. According to the author, when she was young, her mother would read to her from a book called Relics of Ancient Verse. Her favorite poem from the 1765 book went like this: Ye highland and ye lowlands, oh where have you been? They have slain the Earl of Moray and laid him on the green. Right, however, heard the last line as, they've slayed the Earl of Moray and Lady Mondegreen. A mondegreen takes place when auditory perception, the physical act of hearing, and meaning making, when our brains imbibe, absorb or assimilate the noises with significance. This is essentially what happens in the childhood game of telephone. As one friend whispers a word or a phrase into another's ear, it can become wildly distorted and a totally different word or phrase can come out the other side. It's not exactly clear why this happens, we just know that it does. Another example is, we built this city by Starship. The words go, we built this city on rock and roll, but maybe you're listening to the song over lunch, and what you might be hearing is, we built this city on sausage rolls. Why am I talking about this? Well, our promise to our members, existing and future, has never changed. Entrenched in our value proposition is our commitment to communicate accurately and concisely. Okay? No tomfoolery, no shenanigans, no optical illusions, no fiddling with savings accounts and having to employ sleight of hand tactics to distract. Everything that we communicate, everything that we do, we will communicate with crystal clarity at Profmed. Right, now that we've settled that, let's move on to the business of 2024. So I'm very excited to share with you the development in our benefit enhancement space. This one is a big one for us. We've been looking at this for a number of years. You've been asking for it for a number of years. And this year, we've been able to make the maths work. We have added MRI and CT scans on our Proactive Plus option. It will include a 6,000 Rand limit with a 20% co-payment. Everybody has gap cover, so we believe that that will be in the right space. We have increased our GPs and specialist rates as follows. GPs will increase from 550 Rand to 580 Rand. Specialists from 810 Rand to 850 Rand. We have increased our Profmed 2023 base tariff by 5.4%. Guys, we have a wonderful program, Wellbeing. The program is a digital tool to support children with neurodiversity. provides members with access to an array of features to support the care journey. These include monitoring of symptoms, digital assessments, and care history. The aim is to empower parents of children with neurodiversity to manage the condition. This includes the autism spectrum condition, depression, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or attention deficit disorder. This benefit is available on all our options and is restricted to children up to the age of 18, subject to protocols and clinical qualifying criteria. Members are required to register via the Profmed app to access this benefit. Tariff changes, Proactive Plus tariff change from 200% to 175%. Again, gap cover will cover that space. All benefit limits will increase by 2.7%. Hospital co-payments on Savvy and ProSelect will increase to 12,500 Rand. And international travel medical assistance benefit, the DSP will change from International SOS to Europe Assistance. Guys, we place a premium on the general well-being of our members, including mental health. We have a program that will offer preventative care concerning the mental health needs of our members, considering challenges relating to, well, being a South African, social anxieties, and vocational related challenges. I'd like to conclude with a quote that one of my heroes said. Maybe you've heard of him, Albert Einstein. So life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. South Africa, we just need to keep moving in the right direction. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your constructive criticism. We hear you, to keep engaging and sharing with us. Let's keep moving forward. I believe in 2024 and beyond in South Africa. Have a good one.
Thank you very much, Hendrik. Earlier this week, we caught up with Ayanda and Vimpy, who told us a little bit more about the PPS offering and the synergies between PPS and Profmed. Let's hear what they had to say.
Hi, Vimpy and other Profmed members that are joining us virtually.
Hi, Ayanda.
I can't believe it's that time of the year again when I have to make options for medical aid. I have a big decision to make for next year. I've got a daughter who is a student, and we're trying to decide whether we keep her on our family medical aid or we get her a Profmed student option. I really like the options that they have, and I feel like the price point is just right.
Jana, maybe can I just on that, I don't know how many members know this, but in the fourth study year, Profmed actually has got a reduced rate for our student members. So it is the best thing to do. And I did the same thing for my son. And yeah, he's still on Profmed today.
What makes this partnership between PPS and Profmed such a value-adding partnership? After all, it's been going on for 60 years.
Well, Ayanda, I'm almost embarrassed to say I joined PPS in 1995, and there was a very good relationship between PPS and Profmed at that time. So yeah, no, the relationship has been going on for generations between PPS and Profmed, and has benefited our members and Profmed members through all the life journeys and life stages and claims and whatever might have happened in their life so many times. And yeah, we looked after, I can say, after our members between both companies.
PPS and Profmed are all about protection. Perhaps you can share with our members how they benefit if they are both a PPS and a Profmed member.
Yeah, and I think it is important to note that members buy either medical aid or life cover or insurance cover for the protection. But with PPS, because we're a mutual company, there's the additional value in getting a profit share account, which means PPS members that have Profmed and vice versa will get an additional allocation into their profit share account if they are members of both companies.
Yes, I've heard you talk about a qualifying product. What is a qualifying product?
Yeah, and our PPS members who have life insurance products, and by life insurance I mean sickness and incapacity cover, critical illness cover or life cover, will qualify for the profits of PPS through the unique profit share account value.
So besides the life insurance benefits, if you have short-term insurance or even investments, you get an additional allocation as well as a profit share booster. Do you want to tell the members what the booster is all about?
Yeah, Ayanda, about 3-4 years ago, we added a new addition to our product range, or a benefit. We call it the Cross Holdings Booster, where you get additional allocations to your profit share if you have products across the group, meaning Profmed, PPS short-term, or PPS investments. And over the years, we've seen how that has already benefited our members tremendously.
So you mentioned earlier that PPS operates under the ethos of mutuality. And you know, the mutual model is not too common in South Africa, but it's very, very popular in America, Europe, and Asia. And we've got a special group of people that we serve, graduate professionals.
Yeah, Yanda, I mean, you can almost say it's the company you keep, you know, with mutuals. And mutuals is an offering where people come together with a common goal or a common purpose or a common need. In this instance, it's 4-year graduates that 82 years decided they're going to get together and look after their income first, and from there PPS have evolved. I think the point is the grouping of people here are 4-year graduates. So in PPS, in the PPS group, you know that you're only looking after that market segment only, which is very unique.
It definitely is. And the mutual model is beautiful because nobody else gets the profits. Everything that is made for the members is shared with the members. Whether they get it back as claims or it's profit share, it doesn't matter. They get the value 100% back to them.
Yeah, no, I think that is true, and let's call it then our older members can attest to that, because many of them have got in excess of 1 million or 2 million rand in their profit share accounts, and we've got to also remember that that amount is tax-free.
That is wonderful. Speaking of older members, you've done something very special for the older members. What have you done for them? And I'm sure they should be quite excited.
Yeah, now members who elect to stay in the vested profit share account with PPS can actually pay their Profmed membership from there. It's all, they just need to elect it. We'll make sure the premiums get covered. Our members don't have to do anything. It's seamless and as easy as that.
Wonderful. I'm sure guys who are retired must be looking forward to that. One less admin thing to do, more time for cruises and holidays. We don't only have solutions for the mature, we've got some exciting solutions that we've developed over the last few years for our younger members as well. Things like gap cover and the wallet. You know, when my daughter does join PPS, I'll need to talk to her very carefully about that wallet, because with that one, it could be shopping and all sorts of things. She must know that it's for health expense coverage only, not for anything else.
Good luck with that, Ayanda.
Sure, I need it. So thank you so much for sharing these developments for our PPS and our Profmed members and how they benefit by being members of both companies.
Thank you, Ayanda, and thanks to everybody that attended.
Thank you very much, Ayanda and Vimpy. Next up, Craig is going to give us a macro overview of the health industry in South Africa, zoning in on the NHI and what that means to the average South African.
So this year, the Board of Trustees have been looking to care better for the Profmed members, and you'll see it in some of the benefits that we've shared with you and some of the contribution rates that we're going to actually share with you later in this conversation. It really is important for us to keep track of all the advancements in healthcare, and so we see healthcare services change and the impact of artificial intelligence impacting the way we access healthcare and even the way that we analyze our healthcare habits. And so we have artificial intelligence playing a fundamental role in how we look to the future of taking care of ourselves. So when we see all these advancements coming through, we know that they come at a cost. And so technological advancements in healthcare has increased health insurance products in terms of their pricing, but the acceleration of these new innovations have provided more care for people. And so we see all these advancements and how they impact our personal lives are to improve who we are and to help and assist us to live better, longer lives. An interesting fact within the Profmed context is that we have over 100 people now living over 100 years old. I mean, that's an amazing outcome. And part of that is better nutrition, but certainly better healthcare for everybody. What we also have observed in the last year is the biggest impact on healthcare within our South African context are some of the healthcare reforms that are coming down the line. About 4 years ago, we had the Health Market Inquiry, which was hosted by the Competition Commission, and they provided some really good recommendations on how medical schemes themselves can become sustainable into the future. The next item that comes in the reformation journey is national health insurance. So everybody talks about national health insurance, or NHI, but do we really understand NHI, and will it provide what we want out of it? So I'm going to share with you some of the excerpts from what the Department of Health says about explaining national health insurance, and then we're going to look at a few experts and even a few politicians and what their comments are around NHI. So on the Department of Health, there's a promise about what national health insurance is to achieve. So national health insurance is to achieve better healthcare for everybody at a much lower cost. And that cost is going to be absorbed by the taxpayer. Further down in the excerpt, the Department of Health actually indicates that people shouldn't be required to pay anything as they access health services. And so who's going to argue with that intention? So at an intent perspective, NHI is the right intent. How we accomplish it has lots of pitfalls, and how we go about providing healthcare to every South African is a really important place to look at it. So it's interesting, but in 2013, the Minister of Finance then, Pravin Gordhan, had the following to say about NHI. It's interesting because NHI has still not been adopted as a policy in Parliament and has been signed into law by the President. So he says the following, that the pace of the implementation of the NHI was slower than expected. Gordhan said new policy initiatives such as the NHI would only be affordable if South Africa succeeded in driving growth towards 5% a year and government revenue doubles in the next 20 years. So considering this is actually 10 years ago, we still are only in the process of finalizing the NHI bill into law. The reason why it's so important is his second part of his commentary says that the economy itself has to grow, the GDP of South Africa has to grow by more than 5%, and the economy needs to double in the next 20 years. What we've actually seen is, in fact, that we've grown on average at a rate just under 2%, with 2023's GDP projected to be 0.6%. And so we are far behind the requirements as set out by the minister then in terms of financing a huge change in our healthcare system like NHI. So if we look at the NHI journey, we also see the long-term journey that started as far back as 2007. So moving away from social health insurance in 2009, we then adopted a view of implementing a national health insurance program. And what that means is that we are to consolidate all our abilities to purchase healthcare for all South Africans into one pot. And so the consultations began. So the NHI bill has been adopted by Parliament. And so we're at the stage where the bill has moved towards the National Council of Provinces, and the debates have to happen in that setting. We have, as a Profmed Board of Trustees and Medical Scheme, made submissions to the National Council of Provinces regarding aspects of the bill that still needs to change for us to accomplish the intent or the promise that I initially spoke of. That intent needs to be a better healthcare system for all, but funding is a central theme in terms of how do you pay for this. We've had a burdened tax base that is shrinking. Certainly our economy hasn't grown in the right way. So we need to find alternatives in terms of how a universal health system is implemented. And so it's important to understand what both the politicians are talking about and those that are designated to implement national health, and in that way get the right result and get the right outcome for South Africans. At the moment, medical schemes are looking after a small group of members within South Africa, but we only exist because you're there. We exist to protect your interests, and so in the national health debate, we are gearing ourselves to not only comment and engage and influence, but where necessary, we will constitutionally challenge the bill in terms of how it gets implemented in the end. It really is important to listen to what the politicians are saying about the National Health Insurance Bill and how it is going to be implemented, and also listen to some of the experts in the marketplace. And so we'll start with the Deputy President Paul Mashatile. And so I'd urge you to look at the broader context and also the full quote. I've just taken an excerpt from his quote. So he says, everybody is raising the funding question, but there are others who feel NHI will also affect medical aids. So before we sign it into law, there are things we're going to look at. And so a clear indication from the Deputy President that there's still a lot of conversations that need to actually be had before national health will be implemented. The next person to look at is Dr. Nicholas Crisp. Now, he is designated as the Deputy Director General in the Department of Health, assigned to implement national health insurance. And so you'll often hear him push this agenda very aggressively within the different stakeholders and the public eye. But it's important to hear what recently he's sharing with us. And so for those of you that feel that NHI is going to come in and you need to panic now, the assurance from Dr. Crisp comes in terms of his quote. He says, "You can't switch on reforms of this magnitude in a short space of time." We recently had an interaction with Japanese colleagues who told us it took them 34 years, and we know that other countries have taken up to 70 years to get where they are. Isn't that a wonderful assurance that, hold on, the policy may be approved and may be signed into law by the President, but this is going to take decades to implement. And in those decades, we get to shape and influence how national health actually is implemented. You may know Professor William Gumede. He facilitated the Moonshot Pact recently, and Professor William Gumede is at the Wits Business School and teaches governance in the business school. He also has served as a Profmed trustee for almost 10 years, and so we listen to his wisdom quite carefully when it comes to the positioning of NHI in a political context. And so he says the following: when it comes to the NHI, the political context is everything. 2024 brings elections where for the first time a change in government is possible, and ambitions like NHI become a major bargaining chip to harness voters. These unrealistic promises will be retracted for a more pragmatic approach to reform the current health system. And so listen carefully to those in charge of the government purse. Sometimes their silence is deafening. So it really is important to listen to the last part. Those who hold the government purse really have the rights on how the NHI will be implemented. So let's read what the Minister Enoch Godongwana actually shares regarding NHI. So he says, "The national health insurance may not be the best solution to this problem. If you ask me, I would rather we invest more in upgrading our hospitals and our infrastructure to make them more attractive to everybody." It's a very clear indications on where the shifting sands are when it comes to NHI and the funding of NHI going into the future. One of our major concerns, and as we comment on NHI and the implementation of the system, so the number of doctors and specialists has regressed over the last 10 years. We now sit with 0.8 of a doctor for every 100,000 population in South Africa. So it's important that we look at where we sit in terms of an international context. So we see many of the developing countries sitting with more than double the amount of doctors that we have. The developed world sits with more than 5 times the amount of doctors that we have. So our real concern is the supply side of doctors and specialists within South Africa. So many of the developed countries have large shortages of doctors since the COVID pandemic. And so they are coming to recruit our doctors and specialists to go and work in their countries. And so what the NHI bill is missing is a retention strategy in terms of keeping these doctors and specialists in South Africa. The other part of it is how do we produce more doctors and specialists here so we can change those numbers. And only when we change those numbers can we provide broader-based access to healthcare in South Africa. So Profmed's concerns around the NHI bill cover a few key aspects. The first one is how to fund a national health system when we have such a low income base in South Africa. That means we have a small tax base. We don't have a growing economy, so this is going to be a real challenge on how we fund the NHI. The second part is how do we provide more doctors? How do we get our hands on more doctors? Certainly strategies to recruit them from other countries in Africa hasn't worked in the past. We are going to have to train and educate doctors in South Africa for South Africans. And the third aspect is the role of medical schemes has to be clear in terms of a partnering approach in how we achieve universal health care. So as we journey to a universal healthcare system in the future, we need to make sure the system caters for every South African and improves access and quality of the healthcare services South Africans need and expect and should benefit from.
It's called the We Are South African series, but the stories are all about you. Incredible South Africans doing the most phenomenal things. And let me tell you, we flew around the country. I got to interview 4 incredible South Africans, and every interview left me in tears. Have a look at this. Being a South African is a mindset. We stand strong together. We believe in hope, in humanity, and in our nation.
So when I said I wanted to be an architect, my mother was deeply shocked. It's not a job for a girl. I mean, who ever's heard of a woman architect?
Sometimes we're in this position where we want to give our kids what we did have. But sometimes we forget to give our kids what we did have, you know, and stuff like compassion, stuff like generosity.
Not lose hope. I think we have more people actually that are good, more people that care than we do people who don't, and I think we just need to find each other and pull people along.
I just realized the value of many things, of family, of friends, of support, of having a solid team behind you.
Where others see obstacles, we make solutions. We get it done. We are South African. We don't speak enough about mental health and well-being, but the good news here is Profmed is starting that conversation. I want to introduce you to Vasha, who's going to be telling us a little bit more about well-being for Profmed members.
Global data indicates that 1 in 4 people will at some point in their lifetime experience poor health and well-being. South Africans are not immune to this problem, with recent data showing an alarming increase in anxiety and depression. So, what are the elements that need to be assessed as it relates to well-being? Mood and outlook, drive and motivation, mind and body connection, and importantly, a sense of self, which is how we perceive ourselves in relation to others. This then being the basis of how we form connections, relationships, and empathize with each other. At this point, I'd like to ask, how often do you take time out to assess your mental well-being? I'm guessing not as often as you would like. Profmed has recognized the importance of resilience and well-being to its members and will now be making an app-based well-being solution available. The features include a mood tracker, a journaling feature that uses AI to send you personalized recommendations, micro-learning videos, and care support for chronic conditions. Remember, self-care is not selfish. Thank you.
This is the fun part of the presentation where we get to celebrate you. Yes, it's time for the announcement of Broker of the Year. Take it away, Ruth.
I'm honored to once again recognize our top 2022 Profmed intermediaries for the incredible support they have shown to Profmed and our members. Before I announce our winners, I would also like to thank each and every intermediary who has onboarded a new member, helped members to work out which benefit options suit their needs, or just generally supported their healthcare journeys. We know that making the right choice around medical aid can be daunting, and your care for our members is such an important part of our business. Now, it's time to celebrate our top-performing intermediaries from 2022. They are, in first place, Ruan Nel. In second place, Stefan Botma. And in third place, Lisa Hayden. Our regional winners are G.J. Gous, Aaron Perelman, Werner Hatting, Kwesi Dreyer, and Bikosi Mtembu. Thank you for your continued focus, dedication, and commitment to Profmed and everything we stand for. We still have 3 months left of the year, and we're looking forward to seeing what you all do with it as we accelerate towards December. Before I say goodbye, I'd just like to encourage you to visit our intermediary hub on our website, where you will find important documents to download, information about our WhatsApp line, specifically for intermediaries, and where you can ask us any questions you may have. We are here to help you so that you can support our members. So please reach out to us.
This is the business end of the showcase. We're going to be having a look at the comparative analysis of competitors, and Craig will also be taking us through Profmed's increases for 2024.
So what you all have been waiting for is to see what the premium increases are for 2024. So at this stage of the year, we know many of our competitors have already launched their premium increases for 2024. And so it really has been important for us to understand where they are and figure out, relative to their increases, what is the best increase for Profmed. That competitive story is all about balancing affordability and care for our members. So what you would have seen is we've actually enhanced some of our benefits. So that comes at some costs, but we've tried to balance that with the knowledge of the economic pressures that people are going through. And so we show you this slide every year. So this is our signal slide that gives you an idea of our competitiveness going into 2024. So when you look at the slide, the x-axis actually points towards the premiums that you pay for a family on a monthly basis. And it takes every scheme in the marketplace and references that towards the amount of benefits, which is the y-axis. When you consider the black dots are the different Profmed options. So far on the left-hand side, we'll actually see the Pro Select option, Proactive Plus, and in the middle, Pro Secure, and right on the other end, the Pro Pinnacle options are plotted against their nearest competitors. It really is a measure to make sure that we are competitive in the marketplace. And so the great thing is the next slide. So we already know what our competitors are in fact doing. So you'll see an average contribution increase rate of anywhere between 6.9% all the way through to 15.97% for premiums in 2024. So when you come to the Profmed contributions, you'll see that our increases are on average between 6.9 and 10.9%, depending on which option you may be on. Many of our members sit on the bottom 2 options, the Pro Select and the Proactive Plus options. So for Profmed, the weighted average contribution increase for next year is 8.52. So which means when you look at the competitive slide, what naturally happens is our Profmed options become more competitive, and in fact, we enhance benefits. It's our effort to try and balance affordability by giving the right benefits and care for all Profmed members. So you'll see with our 8.52% average increase that we're becoming more competitive, and the value we're delivering to Profmed members is improving. Thank you for the time that you've spent with me.
You've been super busy. We've received so many questions, and we're going to try to get to as many of them as possible. I'm going to call Craig and Hendrik back into studio so we can do just that. Let's get into it. We've had over 700 viewers on the YouTube live this morning, and it's been really informative. We've received loads of questions. I've got some of them here. I've invited Craig and Hendrik to join me on our studio stage to answer some of those questions, and I think let's get right into it. First up, what is behind the decision to drop the 200% cover to 175% on Proactive Plus?
I'll cover this one.
Good.
Great question. So you guys know in funding, it's a case of making the maths work, balancing the books. So we've added a number of benefits this year, which obviously is going to cost. And so we need to make the maths work. So with the, I think, the emergence and growing traction, if you will, of products like gap cover, that covers that space specifically for the specialists that charge over and above tariff for in-hospital services. Those costs are covered by gap cover. So we felt very comfortable that we could make an amendment to that specific option, the tariff, because, as I said, most people are comfortable with gap, and it's almost become a part and parcel of the healthcare purchase.
Good answer. Second question we have is, why have you increased the hospital co-payments on ProSelect and Savvy?
Well, let me take that one. I think, if anything, we introduced the Savvy options in 2019. So that's almost 5 years ago, and we haven't adjusted that co-payment at all. But the co-payment is there to encourage members to actually use the best hospitals available. And those are the hospitals within our designated service provider network. And we measure those hospitals in terms of their clinical outcomes and in terms of their efficiencies. And so it's a matter of encouraging people to use those hospitals.
Another question was, what will happen first when the NHI bill becomes an act?
Another good question, yeah. And so we're all waiting quite keenly when that becomes an act, because then the question about how it gets implemented is a more important one. And some of the quotes that I've been sharing, you would have seen, talks about decades of implementation. So we absolutely believe the Act will come into fruition, and the President will sign the Act in over the next few months. But what we want to see is what is going to be implemented, and that's the space where we can still engage, still change how NHI works for South Africa. And so we believe the real changes will only happen in decades to come. And so an interesting aspect of the bill talks about the medical scheme's role being relegated at a stage where the bill is implemented and fully implemented. And that stage is going to be a long time still.
Yeah, it's good to hear, because it's talkability, right? Everybody, it's on their minds at the moment. The next question is, do you believe the medical skills shortage can be curtailed? And if so, how?
That's another difficult question, because we see globally that people, every country is struggling with the amount of medical skills they have. COVID taught us clearly that some of the older doctors stepped out of servicing people. And so what we have is this drain across the world in terms of doctors and specialists, and even well-qualified nurses as well. So we see the developing countries come out and say, we have to target other countries to bring those skills in. We don't have the capability, even within a developed country, to actually produce those skills. So what we have to do in South Africa is something different. We have to find ways in which we can produce more of our own skills and then retain them. We haven't got such a good retention rate, and maybe that goes to the fact that South Africa's value proposition is at risk at the moment, and we need to improve that. And as we improve, we need to develop more universities, more medical schools that can produce these skills. Certainly, we need to have the private sector partner in those initiatives.
Yeah, well, as the good things guy, I'm always putting good news stories out there, and I have to say, South Africans are skilled. So that's it. We need to keep them here, and we need to keep them working in South Africa. Speaking about COVID, you mentioned it, right? So are the effects of COVID a thing of the past?
So we have, from our own information, we've seen the COVID pandemic really end sort of the middle of 2022, because many of our members work in hospitals in the front of where COVID was impacting. During those early years of COVID, 2020, 2021, there was a real high incidence of infection amongst Profmed members. But after 2022, and specifically this year, we've seen very little impact in terms of long-term COVID and remaining conditions. So we know about long COVID. We've been trying to track that carefully, and these are conditions that linger once you've had a COVID infection. But we haven't seen a material impact on Profmed this year. So we're hoping that those lessons are in the past, but we keep them quite conscious in terms of how we plan for the future.
And that's lessons, another question. What have you learned from the challenges that came from COVID?
Yeah, so the challenge is try to get the right information at the right time, making sure everybody is up to speed in what they should be doing to protect themselves, and knowing how to access the care that they require. And that we have needed to build resources to address that as a country. It was a national, international pandemic, something that we need to really work on in terms of future pandemics, and we know that there will be future pandemics.
So we've been answering a lot of the questions in the YouTube question box that they have been answered already, but we've got one more that I'm going to ask you. Apart from the NHR, what is the biggest threat to healthcare funders, is that question that came through.
Yeah, another good question. I think what we see is health inflation at its core is driven by an aging medical scheme population, which means people need more healthcare services. So it drives premiums up. Because the costs are growing as well. And healthcare inflation outstripped CPI and I guess what we earn every year. And that's the real problem. So if we pay in 1,000 Rand today, I did a calculation, in 10 years' time, we're paying 2,600 Rand a month for the same type of cover. So the amount of health services we utilize drives healthcare inflation, along with technology, along with the lack of healthcare resources we have access to. And so we need to start addressing much of that. But how you address utilization is we need to live healthier, be healthier. And that's probably the best way to solve it.
Live healthier and be healthier. Craig, Hendrik, and the entire Profmed team, thank you for allowing me to be part of this incredible day. It's been very informative. And to all of our viewers that tuned in, we've loved sharing the messages with you. We've loved having you interact and share your questions. If you missed this, if you're catching the end of this and you want to see the whole feed, the whole showcase again, it will be live on YouTube and the Profmed website. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brent.
Can we give a big shout out to the Springboks?
Absolutely. Yeah, to the Booker. We've got your back. South Africa is raising our flag for you, and we cannot wait to watch you win this, right? That's what we're looking for.
Absolutely.
But that's it from us. We've hoped you'd enjoyed it. I'm over and out.
Today, we write the world of tomorrow. Leveraging 60 years of experience while spearheading the new. A delicate dance of wisdom and foresight, we are paving and pioneering the road that lies ahead. Sharing a vision, an entrepreneurial spirit, and solutionist way of life. Our purpose is defined in the professionals we serve. An intelligent partner when you need us most. Investing time to design, build, and create value. We meet at the intersection of innovation and science, creativity and analytics. Together, we are that collective of professionals who dream, who challenge the norms and achieve the extraordinary. So let's keep leading the way, expanding our journey, lighting the path, with the peace of mind that your well-being is covered by a professional just like you, who shares your values, your investment, and your commitment to deliver every day with tomorrow imagined. We are Profmed, intelligent medical aid for professionals.
Profmed is a medical aid created by professionals for professionals.
We've been trusted by doctors, pharmacists, and medical professionals for over 60 years as their first choice in medical aid.
And over the years, other professionals have joined their ranks, from CAs and lawyers to marketing professionals and graphic designers. Find out how Profmed can support you today.